Hi all, it's Mark here. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network, and I've just had we've just been laughing for 30 minutes, pretty much. I'm joined by Claire Woods. Claire, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me along.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for being one of our full members, and thank you for agreeing to do our talk on the 5th of October.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's going to be good fun. If you're watching this after the 5th of October, then it'll be available on catch up, as they say, on demand on the website. And Claire's going to talk to us on the 5th of October for 10 minutes. We're doing a speed webinar on artificial intelligence and creative integrity, which is quite a timely one. So Claire, just to warm everybody up for that, and as an introduction to you, can you give us the Claire story? Tell us the work you do. The Claire story. Tell us about the work you do and the work you'd like to do and what it is you do for people and how it benefits them, and specifically for those who work in and around arts and culture organisations.
Okay. We don't want the life story, do we? Do you want to have the here and now story?
We can do an accelerated version of that later if we've got time.
All right, yeah, let's do the here and now, shall we?
Where are you based? Let's start with the basics.
I am based in Fulham in London. We moved here 6 weeks ago, actually. So we used to live in Pangbourne in Berkshire, near the Thames. And we decided to just shake things up. The kids are a bit older. Our 2 daughters live in London already. Our son lives with us. He's just started a grad job. And I think with thinking about when the kids were going to university and changes in life and everything else, the fact my husband's always worked in London, I have clients in London, we always socialise in London, we thought, why don't we just move to London? So we've actually done the opposite of what lots of other people would do at this stage in their life, and they would move out of London and take the slower route, and we're not ready to do that just yet.
Sounds great. I used to live in Fulham. I think we talked about this last
time. Yes.
What was it? I was in what road was off? Oh, I'm going to forget now. But yeah, I quite close to the Fulham Road.
Yeah.
Putney Bridge End.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely part of the world.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's great fun. Excellent. So we can picture you. I should point out, I got told off recently by my wife, because one of the things I sometimes do when I'm having these calls, I don't know if I told you this last time, but
no.
I ask for the person's address, and I go and stand outside their house on Google Earth, and it's great fun, actually. It's really good fun.
Yeah.
There was one gentleman I spoke to, Bill Bruno. He was in Colorado, and he's got a theatre in his back garden. And
wow.
I was able to stand on the road and have a look at it. It was great.
Yeah.
Great fun. But my wife said, no, that's really stalky. Stop doing it.
It's quite stalky, actually.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Funny too. I haven't got a theatre in my back garden anyway. I have a backyard with artificial grass, so don't bother coming. No.
Excellent. I'm so tempted to jump into Fulham and have a look around, but I won't. And that's when I say, well, the front of your house is looking a bit untidy, and then we realized it was 2009. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So tell me more about the work you do in LinkedIn, especially, so that all our members know what it is that you can do to help.
What I'm doing. So I've always been a B2B marketeer, and I set up my own business about 5 years ago, where I decided to help people with social media and show them how to use social media for their businesses, how to not necessarily sell their goods online because it's B2B, but more about creating and maintaining brand awareness through putting thought-provoking and interesting content out there, because there's a lot of very dry content out there. And after about a year, I realized that lots of people were doing social media consultancy. So I thought, well, LinkedIn is the #1 platform for B2B marketing. So why don't I have a look at that and specialize in that? And to be honest, when I first looked at it, I opened up my old LinkedIn profile, because we all set one up, once upon a time, didn't we? When we were looking for a job. Looked at it, thought, this is really scary. I don't understand it. Shut my laptop, walked away, took the dog for a walk. And I thought, oh, come on now, Claire. Come on. Social media is social media. It's the same principles. No matter which platform you're on, you can work out LinkedIn. So I set myself the task of getting to grips with LinkedIn. I watched lots of YouTube tutorials. I went on to LinkedIn Help. I followed people that I found interesting. I found other people in my sector and what they were doing on LinkedIn. And then I built up my own community on LinkedIn, which is what you want to do. So I use LinkedIn for my personal branding, my personal profile, and for my company brand. My company is called Kennedy Woods Digital Marketing. And what we do as a company is we're growth marketing specialists. So we show people predominantly in the B2B sector. I don't work with many B2C, but I can. But it's with a focus on LinkedIn. So of course it is naturally more B2B clients. And I show them how to use LinkedIn to create and maintain brand awareness, to get more traffic to their websites. And then I also work alongside a CRM company called Aptania. And Aptania is a CRM system that will track the traffic that's going to your website, not using Google Analytics, but using its own analytics. And it will tell you where that traffic's come from. And it will look at the people's IP addresses. So look at that traffic. And then what it will do, it will send you, these companies looked at your website, and then it will then give you the main decision makers from those companies. It will link to LinkedIn and give you those names, show you those profiles. And then you'll look at the profiles and you go, oh, actually, I spoke to them last week, or they engaged in my post last week, or actually they're a good person. They're in the sector I want to target. So then it enables you to get their names into the CRM system. And so you can start building up your email marketing database. And then what we do, we keep feeding the funnel, feeding the social selling funnels. We keep putting the content out on LinkedIn for our clients. From the content, then interest is gained from these people. They're seeing your content, they're engaging on your content because it is engaging, it's attractive, there's a great image, there's great copy, great advice in there, great thought leadership, or a great product or service that you're selling. So from that, they'll engage in your content, and then they'll engage again because the content comes up in their feed. Then they'll think, well, who is this person? Then they'll look at your company page and think, oh, that's what they do. Oh, actually, that's quite interesting. Then they'll click on the CTA button on your company page on LinkedIn, and that will bring them through to your website, and maybe to the call to action page on your website, which could be to sign up for a free demo or a free discovery call or something else, or to buy the product. So that's what I do.
That sounds great. And I imagine in a B2B focused environment, the members of our network who will be most interested in the service that you provide around that will be service providers to the arts and culture sector, because they're effectively B2B. So for example, a ticketing house that has venues as clients, a copywriting firm that specializes in heritage and tourism, for example. I imagine those will be the sweet or the champagne referrals for you. But I've been using LinkedIn for a long time as well, and the Arts and Culture Network effectively lives on LinkedIn. Don't do much on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at all, because I have finite time, and that's where the biggest bang is for my buck, really. So but yeah, I think it would be, so for anyone out there who wants a bit of help making the most of their activity on LinkedIn specifically, do you do a sort of 30-minute consultation or anything to kick meetings off?
Yes, I do a free discovery call, which is, if you go to my website, there is a button that you just click on the homepage, and that will bring you through to my Calendly page. But then you can pick a time and a date that suits you, that's convenient for you. And then we book in, we'll have a half-hour call, and we'll see what you need. And it could be that you need the whole shebang, the whole package on LinkedIn. It could be that you just need some training to enable you to take on your LinkedIn marketing yourself. It could be that you're interested in utilizing AI as part of your marketing mix. And I do actually have a number of different power hours, I call them, on my website that people could book into. One of which is AI 101, and showing people how to utilize AI. And I use a lot of the image creation tools, in particular Midjourney and a new one, Ideogram, for creating content for my own purposes, for marketing my business, but also for my client business as well.
Yeah, you kindly did some experimenting for me, didn't you?
Yes, I did. That was quite fun.
Very kind of you. It's fascinating to see what came back.
It is fascinating, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. And
it's about understanding, for some things, like what we were trying to do, it just didn't quite work, did it? It just wasn't quite right.
No. brings us back to the talk on the 5th of October, because that's what we want to try and establish. You know, my brother-in-law is a graphic designer, and I think he used elements of AI inside Photoshop, but he's got to where I wanted to get to, and I don't think AI would have done. And I can quite see, you know, this concept of prompts is really interesting, because there will be a college, there'll be a course on it somewhere, right?
There will.
You know, I'm one of the trustees at Chelmsford College near us here, and I should be talking to them about doing this. If they started a course for even adult education, how to write prompts for artificial intelligence, they would be inundated. And I've messed around with it, and it's been, I think I wrote a birthday poem in the style of a pirate for a friend yesterday. I think yesterday was International Talk Like a Pirate Day, which is great. And it's great fun. It is great. Anyway, I digress.
We'll digress, won't we?
We've been digressing all afternoon.
We have, yeah.
Lovely. So wherever this appears, I'll put your website address and your LinkedIn address. Especially.
Thank you. That's very kind.
So thank you so much for being one of our full members. But what I'd like to do now is to understand a bit more about how you tick and what you like and what you don't like, especially in the realms of the arts and culture world. So we're now going to do our arts and culture hot top 10. And I'm going to give you 10 or so questions which will unearth what you really enjoy. So it always produces anecdotes and always produces surprises. So we'll see. So Claire Woods, do you have a favorite building? And if
favorite building,
why?
Favorite building, I would say gosh, there's so many. But I'll land on the atrium in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. When they'd redeveloped the Ashmolean Museum, I can't remember how many years ago it was now, and they spent millions upon millions of pounds on it. And they completely transformed the place from somewhere that was very fuddy-duddy, fusty, like the kind of museum you despise going to as a child, to the most wonderful, light-filled room that went from basement right up to the top floor, you know. And they called it the atrium. And I love the fact, because when I was at school, I studied Latin at school. And I remember reading Puella est in, what is that, the phrase, Ecce Romani books, the Latin books we had at school. Anyway, they were talking about the houses, and they would talk about the lifestyles and things of people of the ancient Romans at that time. And they would talk about the atrium and the house as being the house where they housed their most precious items, it was a place they showed off, you know, when people came into their home, and they would show them their special vases or their special sculptures or whatever else they had. And this atrium in the Ashmolean was like a sort of a gargantuan sized atrium. You know, it would never be in a home of somebody in ancient Roman times. It was almost like being in a giant's home, you know. And it just has the wow factor. I love the fact there's the glass roof, which throws down all this natural light into the central part, which goes right down to the basement, and then the huge sculptures that come up from the ground there. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm going to have to go and visit. That's brilliant. Love that. Now, what about a favorite book?
Favorite book? That's a toughie. The one that always springs to my mind, which has to be my favorite book, is, I can't remember the author's name, but it was called All the Light I Cannot See. Ooh. And it was about a little girl who grew up in Saint-Malo in France, and her father was a locksmith. And the little girl was basically, she was about 6 or 7 at the time, and she had a disease, and basically she went blind. So what her father did, in the beginning of the book, it talked about that he had built like a wooden 3D map of Saint-Malo, the city. And he got her to put her hand in it so she could feel the buildings and feel the streets and find her way around the city of Saint-Malo. So that when she was going out on her own, when she was older, because her father was very old and he was worried about her when he died, what would happen to her, that she would do that. And then she would know the way to the bakery. She would know the way to the the shops or wherever else the church, wherever else she was going. And then in tandem with that story, there was a story about a little boy growing up in Germany in an orphanage, and he ended up entering the Hitler Youth movement. And then it went into the story of what happened in World War II. And it's almost like every time they nearly almost met, but they never did.
Oh, wow.
And it was the most beautiful story. And I think it was I loved it because it was so descriptive. And I like descriptive things. I like it when it really paints a picture. And I think with this book, you were reading it and you could just see, you could literally live in that book. Everything was described so beautifully. So yes, that was, and that
all the light
I cannot see.
Cannot see. Okay, we'll track that down. Brilliant. And do you have a favorite dancer, dance group, or dance style?
I love that dance group called Diversity, who are on Britain's Got Talent. Diversity, wasn't it, we were called? That style of dancing is insane. And I know they teach kids how to do this. It's street dance, isn't it, effectively? And they teach it in primary schools. And the kids love doing it. And but obviously this is a very advanced level. And to watch them, how synchronized they are. Absolutely on point. It flows. It's almost like you're not watching dancers. You're watching, I don't know, like almost like watching the ocean, watching the sea as the waves crash in. You know, it's so in tune with each other. I love that.
I live quite close to Southend-on-Sea in Essex, and they did the Panto for 2 years running.
Oh, did they? Wow.
Yeah. And we got backstage. I know the manager at the theatre, and he got us backstage, and so we met them all at half time, which was great. And Ashley has recently opened a new dance studio in Southend-on-Sea. It's their new training centre, so we've got Diversity on their doorstep, literally, which is great. So
lovely.
Yeah. Now this one's a bit tricky. I want you to assume that you've been exiled from the United Kingdom for some unknown misdemeanor, and it's all those parking tickets in Fulham have come back to haunt you.
All the bad language on a podcast.
Yeah. But you can choose which country you're going to live in based on your perception of its culture. So where are you going?
Ireland. Republic of Ireland. Yeah.
Nice. Now, I think I'm right, aren't I? There are more Irish people in Chicago than there are in Ireland.
Yeah, I think you probably are. Well, my mother was Irish, and I come from a big Irish family.
My group, I know this because I've done the DNA thing. I think I'm about 15% Irish, if that can be a thing.
I'm a solid 50% Irish.
Are you? Right.
And my mother, or the mammy, as she was called, she was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely loved her to pieces. Inspires me daily, even though she passed away 3 years ago. And what I love about Ireland is they're so welcoming. Irish people are so welcoming. And there's never any stress there, you know. And what I really love is that the Gaelic language is so lyrical, so poetic. And it's like, you know, you often hear people say about the Irish, say, well, why use one word when they can use 5? And it's not only because they talk a lot, you know, they've got the gift of the gab. They kissed the Blarney Stone when they were dangled by their ankles when they were 2, as we all were. But as an example, when they say hello, if somebody comes in, you go into an Irish person's house, they go, and I have to get my pronunciation right, and forgive me if I get it wrong, Che Emilia Fulcher. And what that literally means is 100,000 welcomes. Isn't that's actually saying you are welcome into my home. I want you here, Che Emilia Fulcher.
That's really nice.
And that's what I think that really says a lot about the Irish.
It does. That's lovely.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, moving on then. Either as a participant or a spectator, do you have a favorite sport?
Oh, so many. I was a tennis coach for 15 years. So I loved playing tennis and watching tennis, but I'm also a huge rugby fan. I'm a big rugby fan. So I'm loving the World Cup at the moment. Not loving watching England play, I have to say. Quite hopeful that they'll keep George Ford in as fly half and they won't let Farrell back, but I think Borthwaite's got other ideas. I'm also a Harlequins fan. So looking forward to going to their matches this year. Yeah, love it. I tried to play rugby when I was at university, but I was too small. And I thought I was probably going to get hurt. So never replayed it, but love watching it.
The Rugby Daily podcast on the BBC is good.
I listened. Yeah, I do listen to a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm enjoying it very much as well, and I do think there'll be one of the teams that you wouldn't expect to get very far is going to surprise us. I think.
Yeah.
The next few games.
Yeah.
Be great, but yes, isn't it Farrell who does that after every time he scores? He's got a group of followers who he does that to the camera when he.
Yeah.
Apparently, his followers all donate £1 to his favourite charity when they see him do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really nice.
I didn't know that. I'm not a Farrell fan. So that's probably why I didn't know that about him.
So when are we playing next week?
Saturday 4:45. Yeah.
Well,
against Chile.
So well done, England, for winning the World Cup. If that is the outcome.
Yes. I
was there in 2000. I was there in 2007 in France, but at the Stade de France when we lost to South Africa, because it was so close to home, and it was we made the decision the day before to just go. Got tickets, okay, at face value outside. It was great.
Wow.
But I do love. There's some lovely stories as well. I think I'm trying to remember which we'll talk about them later if I can remember the story. But anyway, we are digressing hugely. Now this one's quite cruel. I'm going to limit you to one musical genre for the rest of your life.
Oh, blimey, O'Reilly. Okay. Oh, that's tough. Oh, that's really tough. That's really mean. I grew up in a musical household. My mother was a piano teacher. I played the piano, the oboe, and I sang. And I love music. I love so much. One musical genre. Right, the one that's blipping in the front of my brain is it's going to be classical. And because I couldn't listen to drum and bass for the rest of my life. That would do my head in, literally. Much as I like it. Also a big Robbie Williams fan, have to fess up. Would I go classical? Torn between classical, because of being an oboist, and playing sort of chamber music. Love that. I love the cleanness of that music, if that makes sense. But also, from my singing background, gospel music.
Yeah.
Because of the harmonies, and there's lovely. It's nothing nice. Oh, I know. When you're singing in a choir and you hit perfect harmony, and if you're singing in thirds, say, you hit perfect harmony with altos and sopranos, and the notes just ring in the air. Absolute bliss.
I get that kind of shiver when the country band Lady A. They used to be called Lady Antebellum.
I know them.
I've seen them live a couple of times, and the last time went to see Faith Hill and Tim McGraw at the O2, and they were support, and that was great. But they have this. I don't know whether it's auto-tuned. It sounds as though it's auto-tuned, right? But it is incredible. It's like hearing one voice singing overtones, and it's really
sublime.
Incredible. Yeah. Okay, so you can have classical music. That's probably quite wise. I asked this question of the head of Chinese art at one of our big auction houses, and she cited hip hop. She said, I couldn't live the rest of my life without hip hop. I mean, I'd be classical as well, I think, but I would miss Bob Marley, Dream Theater, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah. All the disco greats. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving swiftly on. Do you have a favorite visual artist?
I'm just going to go with the first one that comes into my head because that's probably the right one. Anthony Gormley.
Nice.
Anthony Gormley.
Angel of the North.
Angel of the North, all those amazing sculptures in the different cathedrals that he's put in as well. The one in the crypt in Winchester, the one in Canterbury Cathedral was an interesting one actually, which I wrote about. And he actually, they were rebuilding or doing fixing the roof on the east transept, and they had all these old rusty nails, and they didn't know what to do with them. Anyway, they contacted Gormley because he'd already done that figure in the crypt at Winchester.
Mm.
So, what is pile of rusty nails? Would you like them? And he said, oh, yeah, I'll find something to do with them. And he created this amazing piece, because he makes an indexical register of his body. So all these pieces are like a slightly bigger than life-size version of his own body. And he made one that was, well, you could see through it. It was, if you imagine like making a shell out of, I'm doing this like gnarly, rusty nails.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was suspended with some invisible wire in the crypt in Canterbury Cathedral.
Wow.
And it moved only when, if somebody came into the room, and through your own movement in the room, you're bringing some airflow into the room, and it just moved ever so slightly.
Oh,
and it was absolutely incredible.
Love
But anyway,
that.
I met Gormley. I went to listen to him do a talk at the Tate a few years ago now, and he was talking about insider art, so about prison convicts art, which is incredibly powerful stuff. And it was in conjunction with the Kessler Trust. Anyway, so Anthony Gormley was talking, and he is by far my favorite artist. And my friend Hannah said to me, she said, we should go up and say hello. And I said, all right then. I got up there, and I've never in my life had this before, but I went to shake his hand and my throat dried up. I was starstruck. I was so in awe.
Wow.
So, and I've worked with a lot of celebrities in the past. I used to do a lot of event management. Never had that problem in the past. But meeting Anthony Gormley just rendered me speechless.
There we go. That's the surprise of the conversation. I love it. That's brilliant. Excellent. 2 more, and then we'll do the this or that game.
Okay.
Favorite film?
Favorite film? Stardust, which was written by Jonathan Ross's wife. And it's like a fairy tale story that she wrote. It's quite a long film, but it's just lovely. It's absolutely lovely, and the ending is absolutely beautiful. And of course, it's about a true love story. So I've got a soft spot for that movie.
Excellent. And finally, with the exception of me earlier on with our profanity tennis, who was the last person to make you laugh?
My son.
Very good.
It was my son, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for doing those. That's lovely.
You're very welcome.
The feedback I get is that it's good fun. People love to watch them. I had a message, we posted one on Monday, and from Jonathan Duff, and somebody posted, I watched the whole thing, it was hilarious. So that was good. Now, thank you so much for doing that. Now, this is an experiment. Okay. So I'm afraid you're the guinea pig.
Guinea pig woods right here.
Guinea pig woods. This is an arts and culture this or that game. You can only choose one of these.
Okay.
It's rapid, so we don't need to know why, but let's see if it works. Okay. So you have to choose one, and you do it instinctively.
Okay.
I'll warm you up with a few normal ones.
All right. Okay.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Shower or bath?
Shower.
Indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Sand or snow?
Sand.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
North London or South London?
Oh, well, I live in North London. Yeah, North London.
If anyone's in Fulham, they won't like that. So that's the gist of it. That's the
we're north of the river, though, in Fulham, aren't we? That's why.
Of course, yes. Technically, you're North London. Yes. Yeah. Right. So these are a bit cruel, and this is the first time we've tried this. So you are absolutely guinea pig.
Guinea pig woods. Yeah.
Guinea pig woods now. So, and this does rather assume you know your stuff. So,
God.
If you don't, then just choose one and no one will know.
I'll just wing it. Nobody will know.
Yeah, wing it. Ready?
Go on.
I've just looked down the list, and there's a few I might not be able to pronounce. Shakespeare or Chekhov?
Shakespeare.
Monet or Van Gogh?
Monet.
Ballet or contemporary dance?
I'm going to say ballet, actually.
Picasso or Dali?
So, Picasso.
Charles Dickens or Jane Austen?
Charles Dickens.
Sculpture or pottery?
Sculpture.
Opera or musical theatre?
Musical theatre. A shadow of a doubt. Can't stand opera. Sorry.
Impressionism or Cubism?
Cubism.
Broadway or off-Broadway?
Broadway.
Hitchcock or Spielberg?
Spielberg.
Romanticism or realism in literature?
Realism.
Jazz or blues?
Blues.
Theatre or cinema?
Theatre.
Baroque or Renaissance art?
Renaissance.
Expressionism or surrealism?
Expressionism.
Hip hop or classical ballet?
I'd probably go classical ballet, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, Matisse or Kandinsky?
Matisse. That was tough.
There we go. That worked. Actually.
Yeah.
That works. You clearly know your stuff, which is fantastic, which helped it work.
Yeah.
What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to ask, I'll probably do 30 questions. Yeah. We'll do it fast. The first one, and they'll start with tea and coffee, but they might end with Kandinsky or Matisse and get gradually more artsy, you know.
Yeah.
It works. So that was fantastic. Claire, thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome.
Your links will all appear wherever this does. I'll try and get this out sooner rather than later. Don't go anywhere, but for the moment I'm going to stop recording. But if you'd like to connect with Claire, please look wherever this appears for some links. But Claire, for the time being, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Thank you.